Alright, now I'm going to teach you a few things about how you want your gas tank mounted in your plane. Most planes should have a plate like this holding in the gas tank. If not, you pack it with styrofoam or something very lightweight to keep it in place. On this plane, you pull this out. As you can see, this is another part that's been rebuilt. And then the gas tank sits down in there. If you look here, you have two hoses coming out of your gas tank. One is your pressure hose coming from your carburetor or muffler, and the other one, which is your gas feed line, which goes straight to your high-speed needle. Now, I'll go over more with the high-speed needle in the engine video, where I'm going to disconnect the hoses here, and I'm going to just reach in and pull the gas tank out. This is your gas tank. As you can hear in there, there's a clunker. I don't know if you can see it very well in the video, but there's a little clunker in here that when your plane is upside down, the clunker is in the bottom of the gas tank because the plane's upside down, or in the top of the gas tank because the plane's upside down. When it's sideways, it's sitting in the side of the gas tank. When it's sitting on this side, it's on the right side of the gas tank. So no matter which way your plane is pointing in the air, that clunker is going to be in the gas so you don't run out of gas. That's one important thing to remember. One other thing is, if we can get this out here, is putting this gas tank in is very important. These are usually pretty hard to pull out. This is what it looks like on the inside. As you see, the clunker just fell out inside the gas tank. I'll have to put that back together. But this is your pressure line. This is what goes to your muffler. The muffler, when the air is going through it, is pushing more air through this hose and into your gas tank. What that does is pressurize the gas tank so the gas can come through this line, into your high-speed needle, and your plane continues to fly. If it does not have pressure, the gas will not continue to flow, and your plane will die in midair. So, if it's all together, and you mount it in there upside down, and that pressure line's like that, it'll probably run fine while the tank is full, but as soon as the tank starts to empty out, it might start to mess with it. I know we did it backwards one time, and it just ended up, our plane was dying constantly. It's just a pain in the ass. So make sure you put it in there so that fuel line, so that pressure line is pointing up when your plane is sitting down on its wheels. One quick, helpful tip with your gas tank is, when you're putting it in, as you can see, there's not a hatch on most planes to be able to see what you're doing when you're trying to put these two flimsy hoses in there. So once you get this piece on, back on your gas tank, you tighten your screw back down because you want that screw to be nice and tight. For what that does is it makes the inside of this expand and create a good pressure seal in there. When you get that, you want to make sure that your line's sticking up, like I told you before, and then you can take a rubber band or a twisty tie, rubber band this together like so, so you have one thing, so when you're sticking it in there, you can slide it in and get it through this hole back here. Me and my buddies actually just broke this piece off because we got so frustrated with that because we didn't figure that out right away. But that's a good little tip for you to get this in there without having to mess up your plane. And then once you get the tips of the hoses through there, you just grab them with the needle nose pliers, or if you're smart, you do it without your motor on, so that way you can just reach through with the pliers and grab it. That's just one little gas tank tip for you, and hopefully that might help you guys out. Alright, when it comes to what battery you buy and what servos you buy, I gotta admit right off the bat, I am not an expert when it comes to that. So what I'm going to ask you to do is look in your kit information, and it should tell you what you need. If your kit information does not tell you what you need, just go down to your local hobby store and tell them that you need 4 servos for a 40 size airplane, and you also need a battery to power them, and they'll most likely know what to give you. there's a lot of different batteries on the market, a lot of different servos on the market, and like I said, I'm just not an expert, and I don't want to tell anybody this is what you have to buy or this is what you don't have to buy, so please research that for yourself. I've just kind of always taken what the hobby store has given me, and hopefully here pretty soon I'll learn what the differences are, but I'm also learning too. As far as servos go, I know you can buy cheap servos, you can buy expensive servos. I do know that the expensive servos are more durable, and they'll probably live longer through different crashes and whatever. You're only going to have to buy them once kind of thing. But if you're in a bind, the cheap servos work too. You know, I mean, I know, believe me, I know everybody doesn't have money, so if you can buy the cheap ones and get by with the cheap ones, that's just fine. Alright, now I'm going to go over the different components of your motor and the different sizes of motors and hopefully everything you need to know about your motor and mounting your motor on your ARF airplane. Now, you have basically 5 different components of your motor that you have to worry about. You have your exhaust. As you can see right now, we're missing a screw on this exhaust. We need to get that from the hobby store. You have your carburetor. You have your high-speed needle, which is right there. You have your head. And then you have your drive shaft, or your what spins your prop. Okay, your high-speed needle controls how much gas goes to your motor when you're flying. Now, when tuning your motor, when you get it fired up and it's running, you're going to want to put it to pretty much full throttle, and if it's bogging out, you're going to have to adjust this until it stops bogging out. One way's rich and one way's lean. Well, what rich and lean means, when it's rich, it has lots of gas, and when it's lean, it doesn't have a lot of gas. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tune your motor so when you feel the exhaust coming out of the exhaust here, you're going to want it to be just slightly oily. You're not going to want it to be burning perfectly clean, because if it's burning perfectly clean, it's running awfully lean. And when it's running lean, that's really hard on your motor for if it's too lean. Now, the opposite end of the spectrum is just as bad, because if it's running too rich, it's going to act poochy. And it's not going to want to put out as much power as it is. And like I said, that all comes down to your high-speed needle. When you're adjusting your high-speed needle back and forth, basically what I always do is we throw it up to full throttle, and then we sit and we adjust this until it sounds like it's putting out its maximum amount of torque. And then we feel the exhaust. If the exhaust doesn't feel oily, we'll dial it back just a little tiny bit, so that way it stops spitting gas and so it's starting to spit just a little tiny bit of gas, and you can feel it on your hands after the exhaust. Now, the basics of your glow motor are, this is a glow nitro motor, which means that it takes a glow plug to start it. You need to take a glow igniter and put on top of your glow plug, and that's what provides your spark to originally ignite your gas. Now, once you take that glow igniter off of there, the engine keeps running because of the compression in the motor. Since there's already a flame in there, when it compresses, it blows up and turns your motor over, and a little bit of that flame stays there, and it fires again, and it keeps going, and that's what continues your motor running. Now, when you're adjusting your servos up here, there's a little clip here, like I showed you with the ailerons earlier, that you might have to adjust threading in or out to make sure that this isn't either running it too rich or too lean at the carburetor here. That concludes part 3 of this video, and see my channel to see part 4.